The sound of my keyboard was the only thing breaking the silence of our tiny apartment. It was past midnight, and the glow from my laptop screen was the only light in the living room. I was deep in the code, trying to fix a bug that had been haunting me for days. Then the bedroom door opened. Chloe stood there, silhouetted in the doorway, her arms crossed. Even in the dim light, I could see the disappointment on her face. "Leo, are you ever coming to bed?" she asked, her voice tight. "Soon," I promised, my fingers not stopping. "I'm almost through this." She sighed, a sound I'd become way too familiar with. "It's always almost. Your almost startup is all you care about. You've been saying that for 2 years." I finally looked away from the screen. "This is different, Chloe. We have real investor interest this time." She just shook her head. "You said that last time too. I'm tired of living on ramen noodles and hope. My friends are buying houses. We can barely make rent." She turned and went back into the bedroom, closing the door with a soft but final click. I stared at the screen, her words echoing in the quiet room. They stung because part of me feared she was right. I met Chloe in college. She was a business major, sharp and ambitious. I was the computer nerd, always building something in my dorm room. She was drawn to my passion back then. She'd say, "I love how you see the world, Leo. You see possibilities everywhere." For 3 years we were a team. I'd build the apps and she'd help me pitch them. We dreamed together. But after graduation, reality set in. Her career in marketing took off fast. She got a job at a fancy firm, Nexus Marketing, and started climbing the ladder. My projects, however, didn't bring in steady money. The first startup I poured my heart into failed after 18 months. The second one never even got funding. Chloe's support began to wear thin. Our apartment, which she now paid most of the rent for, felt smaller every day. My office was a corner of the living room, a constant reminder of what she saw as my failure. The big fight happened on a Thursday. I'd just gotten off a video call with a potential investor named Mr. Sterling. He was interested in my new project, LinkSphere, a simple but powerful tool to help small businesses manage their customer relationships. I was excited. "Chloe, you won't believe it. Sterling Ventures wants a meeting." She was at the kitchen island, scrolling through real estate listings on her phone. She didn't look up. "That's great, Leo." "Great? It's amazing. This could be it. The one." She finally put her phone down and looked at me. Her expression was flat. "How much time will this one take? How many more months of you working for free while I pay the bills?" The air went out of the room. "I'm building something," I said, my voice low. "You're building a fantasy," she replied, her voice cold and clear. "You're 32, Leo. It's time to grow up. Get a real job at a tech company. Be a programmer for someone else's dream. You're never going to be successful on your own." The words hit me like a physical blow. Never. It was such a final, crushing word. I didn't say anything else. I just went back to my laptop in the living room. The silence between us that night was heavier than ever before. A week later, I came home to find Chloe sitting on the couch, her suitcase by the door. My heart sank. "I'm leaving, Leo," she said. "I can't do this anymore. I need stability. I need a partner who has his life together." "This is about LinkSphere? About the investor?" "It's about everything," she said, standing up. "It's about the fact that I've outgrown you." "I'm sorry." She picked up her suitcase. "My stuff will be out by the weekend." And just like that, she walked out. The apartment felt enormous and empty. I sat on the couch where she'd been sitting and put my head in my hands. The person who was supposed to believe in me the most had just told me I was a lost cause. Part of me wanted to give up, to delete all the code and go get a real job. But a bigger, angrier part of me decided something else. I was going to prove her wrong. The meeting with Mr. Sterling was in a sleek downtown office. My hands were sweating. I kept hearing Chloe's voice. "You're never going to be successful." But Mr. Sterling, a man in his 50s with kind eyes, listened intently as I explained LinkSphere. "It's not the most complex software," I admitted. "But it's affordable, easy to use, and it solves a real problem for small business owners who can't afford the big, expensive systems." He leaned back in his chair. "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, Leo. I like it. I also like your passion." He offered me seed funding right there in the room. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough. Enough to rent a small office, hire 1 or 2 people, and most importantly, to work on it full-time. I walked out of that building feeling like I was floating. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of genuine hope. The next 2 years were the hardest of my life. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. The small office was a mess of pizza boxes and energy drink cans. I hired 2 people. Maya, a brilliant but quiet programmer, and Ben, a loud and funny guy who handled our customer support and marketing. We were a tiny, scrappy team. There were days when the software crashed, days when a client left, days when I thought we wouldn't make payroll. On those nights I'd think of Chloe. I'd remember the look on her face when she said, "Never." And I'd go back to work. Slowly things began to turn. Small businesses loved LinkSphere. They told their friends. Our user base grew not in a viral explosion but in a steady, strong climb. We were building a reputation for being reliable and helpful. I heard bits and pieces about Chloe through mutual friends. She had gotten a big promotion at Nexus Marketing. She was dating someone new, a senior executive named Kyle. She'd moved into a luxury condo. It seemed she had gotten the life she wanted. I tried not to think about it. My life was LinkSphere. We moved to a bigger office. The team grew from 3 to 15. We were still not a household name, but we were profitable. We were successful. One afternoon, Ben burst into my office, his eyes wide. "Leo, you are not going to believe this. Nexus Marketing just signed up for a trial of LinkSphere." I froze. "Nexus? Chloe's company." "It gets better," Ben said, grinning. "Their team lead for the project is Chloe." My stomach did a flip. Of all the companies in the city, why hers? A week later we had our first video call with the Nexus team. When Chloe's face appeared on the screen, my breath caught. She looked the same but more polished, sharper. She didn't seem surprised to see me. She must have seen my name on the proposal. "Leo," she said, "all business. Shall we begin?" She was professional but cold. She asked tough, pointed questions about our data security and long-term viability. It felt less like a business meeting and more like an interrogation. Her colleagues were impressed with our demo, but Chloe remained skeptical. At the end of the call she said, "It's an interesting tool. We'll discuss it internally." After the call ended, I sat back, my heart pounding. It was clear she didn't think we were good enough. Not then and not now. A few months later, Mr. Sterling called me. "Leo, I've got news. A major player is interested in acquiring LinkSphere." My jaw dropped. Acquisition talks were the dream. "Who is it?" I asked, my mind racing. "It's Apex Solutions. They're a huge tech conglomerate. They want to add a product like ours to their suite for small businesses. They're offering a life-changing amount of money." I was speechless. This was the validation I had been working for. This was the success Chloe said I'd never have. The following weeks were a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers and executives in suits. The offer was more money than I could have ever imagined. I was about to sign the papers when I had a wild, crazy thought. I asked my lawyer to pause for a day. I called Mr. Sterling. "What if we didn't sell?" I asked him. There was a pause on the other end. "What are you thinking, Leo? Apex is buying us to serve the small business market, right? What if we used their money to become the ones who acquire other companies instead? What if we bought a marketing firm to integrate directly into our platform?" Mr. Sterling was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That's a bold strategy. Risky. But I like it. Who did you have in mind?" I took a deep breath. "Nexus Marketing." The line was so quiet I thought we'd been disconnected. Then I heard a low chuckle. "Now that," he said, "would be a story." The plan was set in motion. We wouldn't sell LinkSphere. Instead, with the financial backing of Apex as a major investor, we would go on the offensive. We formed a new, larger company called Connect Corp, with LinkSphere as its core. My first target was Nexus. It made business sense. They had a strong client list and expertise we lacked. But I'd be lying if I said the thought of facing Chloe again wasn't a part of it. We began the process quietly. My new team of lawyers and analysts started looking at Nexus's books. We found something interesting. Under the surface, Nexus was struggling. They had taken on too much debt and lost a few big clients. They were vulnerable. They needed us more than we needed them. The day of the meeting arrived. I walked into the conference room at Nexus Marketing with my team. The room was all glass and chrome, exactly as I'd pictured it. The Nexus executives filed in, looking nervous. And then Chloe walked in. She stopped dead when she saw me at the head of the table. Her face, usually so composed, went pale with shock. She quickly sat down, avoiding my eyes. The head of Nexus, a man named Mr. Evans, began speaking. "We were surprised by your interest, Connect Corp. We understand you wish to discuss a partnership." I leaned forward, my voice calm and steady. "Not a partnership, Mr. Evans. An acquisition. We're prepared to make a formal offer to buy Nexus Marketing and integrate it into our company." The room erupted in whispers. Chloe's head snapped up. She was staring at me now, her eyes wide with disbelief. I laid out our offer. It was fair, but it was also a takeover. We would be in charge. As I spoke, I watched Chloe. I saw the confusion on her face turn to anger, and then, finally, to a kind of horrified understanding. She was realizing that the man she had called a failure was now the one holding the future of her company in his hands. When I finished, the room was silent. Mr. Evans cleared his throat. We will need to discuss this with our board. Of course, I said, gathering my papers. We look forward to your response. As my team and I stood to leave, I caught Chloe's eye one last time. There were no words. The look on her face said everything. It was a mix of shame, regret, and utter defeat. Later that night, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, but I knew who it was. Can we talk? It read. It was Chloe. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. The part that still remembered the pain of her walking out. But another part was curious. I replied, okay. We met at a quiet coffee shop, a neutral place. She was already there when I arrived, stirring her latte nervously. She looked smaller than I remembered. Hi, Leo, she said softly. Hi, Chloe. There was a long, awkward silence. I guess, congratulations are in order, she finally said. You really did it. Yeah, I said. I did. She took a shaky breath. I owe you an apology. A huge one. What I said to you, that you'd never be successful, it was cruel and it was wrong. I was scared and I took it out on you. I'm so sorry. I nodded, accepting the apology but not saying it was okay because it hadn't been. Why did you come here, Chloe? Really? She looked down at her hands. I'm asking you personally not to destroy Nexus. A lot of good people work there. They have families. I studied her. The Chloe I knew would have been demanding, angry. This Chloe was humble. She was scared. I'm not planning to destroy it, I said. I'm planning to fix it. Your company has been poorly managed. You've taken bad risks. We can turn it around, but it means big changes. Some people will probably lose their jobs. But the company itself will be stronger in the end. She nodded, accepting the hard truth. And what about me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I hadn't decided that yet. The old me would have wanted to fire her on the spot. The new me saw an opportunity. You're a great marketer, Chloe. One of the best. But you need to learn how to build something, not just manage it. I made a decision. You can stay. But you'll report to Ben. And you'll have to prove yourself all over again from the bottom. The acquisition went through. The day I officially became the owner of Nexus Marketing was surreal. I addressed the entire staff in their own conference room. I saw faces I recognized, people who had known me as Chloe's deadbeat boyfriend. Now they were looking at me as their boss. I laid out my vision for the future, a future where our tools and their marketing skills would work together. After the speech, I went to Chloe's new, much smaller office. She was at her desk, looking at her computer screen. It's a fresh start, I said from the doorway. She looked up and managed a small, genuine smile. Thank you, Leo, for the second chance. I won't let you down. A year passed. Connect Corp was thriving. The integration was a success. Chloe, true to her word, worked harder than anyone. She started with small projects, but her ideas were smart and effective. She had let go of her arrogance and rediscovered her creativity. Ben, who was now her boss, came to me one day. You're not going to believe this, but Chloe is one of our best team members. She's a completely different person. I wasn't that surprised. The pressure was off. She didn't have to prove she was better than everyone anymore. We started having casual conversations at the office coffee machine. We talked about work, about old times without the anger. The past was slowly becoming just that, the past. One evening, I was working late in my office when there was a soft knock on the door. It was Chloe. Got a minute? She asked. Sure, I said, gesturing to the chair opposite my desk. She sat down. I just wanted to say, thank you again. Not just for the job, but for how you handled everything. You had every right to crush me and you didn't. You taught me about real strength. She paused. And I was wrong about so much more than just your startup. I was wrong about what success really is. It's not about the job title or the condo. It's about building something you're proud of. You taught me that. Her words felt like a final, peaceful closure to a painful chapter in both our lives. I stood by the window of my office looking out at the city lights. My journey hadn't been about revenge after all. It had been about proving something to myself. Chloe's doubt had been the fuel, but my own belief was the engine. I had built something from nothing. I had taken my heartbreak and turned it into my strength. I thought about the night she left, the emptiness of that apartment. Now, my life was full, With a successful company, a team I respected, and a sense of purpose. The anger was gone, replaced by a quiet pride. The boyfriend she thought would never be successful was gone. In his place was a man who knew exactly who he was and what he was capable of. And that was the greatest success of all.